Portugal. There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and a member show to the GMP Morning Show.
Olá Bom Dia ALEGRIA, Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, a live stream and podcast. How are you doing this morning? Tudo bem? Como estão? Do let me know in the chat. We are continuing with our week of celebrations of our 5th anniversary, our 5th birthday here on Good Morning Portugal. I want to say a little bit about the podcast this morning because that's where it all started. Mamabear joining us from the UK this morning, and Gilda's joining us too. Both of them have been with us pretty much from the start, haven't they? I've known Em for a long, I think I've known Em all that time, and Gilda as well has been with us for most of our magnificent 5 years here on the Good Morning Portugal show. So how are you doing this morning? Coach Turner was in early at 7:25. My goodness, Coach T. Bom dia, Gamposi. Feliz terça. We're off to Norfolk Digital. I hope you're going to tune in to Alan Partridge when you're over that way. We're off to Norfolk for a couple of days today with a visit to Norwich and its museums tomorrow. It's nice over there. Are you going to go to the Turkey Land, to Bernard Matthews theme park? I'm sure such a thing. There must be a visitor centre to do with all the gobbling that goes on over there. The weather might not be great, but there's lots to see. Similar here. I was hoping for some decent weather this week. My daughter's coming over from Italy, and I'm thinking, yeah, it's going to be great. We're going to play on the beach. We might, but we'll be making sand and mud pies if we do. I think the rain set to continue this week. We've really had enough. They are even opening the plugs on some of the dams in the Algarve. They've got too much water now. Nobody can say anymore, and I'm not taking it. We need the water. We do not. We do not need any more water. Bon dia from Sarah this morning. Good morning to you, Sarah. And from Deagle in Belfast, Bon dia, Carl and Gumpus from a chilly Belfast. Went to 2 degrees overnight. Whoa, steady on. Clear blue skies, but still dry. And Mike is in as well. Bon dia, everyone. Good morning to you, Mike and Karen. And Chris. Chris, hello. Hola, bon dia. Say hi to Gilda. Of course I will. I can't sit here and say nothing, Chris. How are you doing? Are you in the Algarve, your beloved Algarve, or are you in the UK? Lovely to see you dropping by. You're a name from the illustrious past of the Good Morning Portugal show as well. Good to see you here, Chris. Capricorn 12. Yes, his real name is Chris. Capricorn 12 on the screen, of course. And yes, reminds me, you have a YouTube channel, and we had our wonderful digital creators live stream and session last night. Great to hang out with Tony and Bob. Lots of great info from Tony, of course, a prolific broadcaster, YouTuber, live streamer, and just completed his 10K. Well done, Tony. I don't know if you got the message as you were thrusting your medal on our Munson and the Geezer show last night, whether you heard me say, well done. Really proud of you. I think it's amazing. You've done your 10K, and it looks like you're going to be going back to do another one next year. 10K, everybody. Tony Bryant, the Portugueser. Oh, clever girl reading. Who is often on the Munson and the Geezer, I think. And here now in the Good Morning Portugal environment, João Ernesto also joining us. Good morning, Bon Dia Gumpers, from João Ernesto as well. Right, Portugal poised politically. Now, Daniel Reyes was quite certain that we were going to... Oh, I keep popping off. That's too much information there, Em. Let's see if that's the same for everybody. Hopefully not. But we should keep an eye on that signal-wise. I'm not sure if that's the connection between here and the UK or if it's general. Let me know if that is the case. I'm not sure what I can do about it exactly, but thank you for that little production tip there. Yes, it was a great session talking of production tips, live streaming last night. And we will cover such things as Wi-Fi, hotspots and all that in due course as we help Michael Heron grow his Good Morning España show. Back to Portuguese politics. So Daniel, when we spoke to him last Thursday, was pretty sure there was going to be an election here in Portugal in May. And I want to bring you some coverage, some analysis from Natasha Don in the Portugal Resident this morning, as well as I said, talking a little bit about the podcast as well, as we're celebrating our 5th year as Good Morning Portugal. All started on the 10th of March, 2020 in earnest. And some of the vibes of the moment feel a lot like they did then. Right, let's look at that political story. Is this another political system or government that's not fit for purpose? We're seeing quite a lot of that, are we not, around the world? And Portugal may well have its own version of that here. Looking very serious, this gentleman here over in the Portugal Resident today sees 2 crucial meetings on Portugal's political crisis. There is a vote today, I think, that might tip the balance into a May election. He is a PS heavyweight. He's Antonio Vitorino, and much more concerned about where the new elections would leave the country than who's going to be winning or losing here. It sounds like everyone's going to be losing if this goes ahead. It struck me as really unnecessary. What with everything that's going on, does Portugal need an election? And I suppose what's importantly, what is it about the system here that caused this to happen? And all the cloud of controversy around the current Prime Minister, Luis Montenegro. There is no certainty, says Natasha Don. Here, let me just check that it is Natasha who's saying this. Yes, Natasha, well done, Natasha. Thank you for your coverage here. She says there's no certainty that the country will be thrown into another snap election. Today sees two meetings described by the national press as crucial for Portugal's ridiculous political crisis. Ridiculous, because if one analyzes everything being said, no one actually wants an election. Ergo, she says, why are we at the risk of having them then? It's a good question, isn't it? While satirical Sunday program Isto e Gozar com Quem Trabalha highlighted the lunacy at play. Lunacy at play. That's quite a good three-word description of what's going on here and elsewhere. PS political heavyweight and possible candidate for the presidency of the Republic. So he's going to be alongside Andre Ventura from Chega, who's put himself forward, and the chap Gouveia Melo. He was the mastermind of Portugal's pandemic campaign, vaccination campaign. He's in the running, and so is this chap, it would appear. He stressed that what worries him is not really the prospect of another election, but where the country will find itself the day after. Yes, it's sort of febrile election activity, like, oh, here we are again. Thus, today is widely seen as almost the last moment in which politicians can row back. I'm assuming that is row back rather than row back, although rowing back is probably what they're doing as well today. The government is having one of its extraordinary meetings of the Council of Ministers, and they're probably really using the word extraordinary so much that it's no longer true, while PS socialists who insist they do not want a new election are convening a meeting of the National Political Committee. Ooh, the first meeting is taking place as we write this text, the second at 9 p.m. this evening. This is hot. This is so hot. I can barely have it on my screen. Oh, hold on a minute. That was last night then. This came out yesterday. I thought she was writing this morning. Hold on a moment. Let's see what's happening then. So maybe the deliberations that have gone on will have us know. Now, if you're a really good Portuguese speaker, pop over to the Portuguese press, will you, for me, and tell me if anything has changed from what I'm reading here at the moment. In simple terms, thank you, that's what I need. The government is vacillating massively. Who doesn't like a massive vacillation first thing in the morning on whether it will or will not stick with its plan for a vote of confidence, which no other party wants to endorse. I see. So the PM's party just wants to say, okay, are you with us or not, I suppose, with this confidence vote, while PS socialists are appealing to it to just drop it. It ain't worth it. Put that way, it sounds simple, but then there are the nuances. Luis Montenegro has said the equivalent of "we can't go on like this," being second guessed at every turn. It sounds like an Elvis song. We can't go on together with suspicious minds. While the minister, you never expected to hear Elvis woven into some political conversation, did you? That's what you get here on the Good Morning Portugal show. While the Minister for Territorial Cohesion, has said, that's a hard job, has said to drop the motion of confidence, the government would want the PS to drop its commission of inquiry. And so the wrangling goes on. Yes, he said, she said. Yesterday, Parliamentary Speaker José Pedro Aguiar Branco tried another tack, calling for the government's motion of confidence to be approved in the name of the national interest. This is not simple enough. All parties have already said they have no confidence in the government. Thus, it is a call that tries to persuade everyone to change their attitudes, not just the PS. And in between all these calls and possible scenarios, politicians have been muddying the waters. That's not like them, by insulting each other and blaming each other for the gathering morass. Grow up, you lot. Commentators, however, they do need to be reminded, don't they? Apparently, politics, government, is about serving the people and the common good. Yes, commentators, however, seemed relatively agreed had the Prime Minister explained everything clearly from the start, answering journalist questions instead of making announcements that did not allow questions. Much of this current drama might have been avoided. What kind of directness and honesty? That might have worked. So where are we now? This all depends on what comes out of the two crucial meetings. If they result in more of the same, it looks like there will be a vote of confidence in the government, in all likelihood tomorrow. That's today. And in all likelihood, the precarious administration with no working majority will fall, in inverted commas. There's a lot of bunny ears in this piece. A flurry of meetings and hearings with the President of the Republic will then take place. Oh, he's a busy man at the moment, isn't he? With the closest date given for a new general election being May the 11th, possibly May the 18th. Just what we need, what with all that and everything else. All this came very much out of the blue, with stories broken by tabloid Correio da Manhã about the Prime Minister's family business, yes, Spinum Viva, that's the name of his family business, which at the time was owned by the Prime Minister's wife and children, raising doubts about compliance with the regime of incompatibilities and impediments for holders of public and political office. It seems, doesn't it, with the rise of compliance, things have got worse. Isn't it funny how human beings do things like that? They bring something out to govern something, and the thing they're trying to govern actually gets worse in front of their very eyes. The PM's, back to Natasha's reporting, the PM's subsequent announcement allowing no questions in brackets that his wife was no longer a shareholder in the business did nothing to mollify critics or the press. Great word, mollify. And subsequent reports in other newspapers only made matters worse, leading to two motions of censure, which the government managed to survive. However, this vote of confidence may well happen today, and we'll see what happens. As Isto e Gozar com quem trabalhas host Ricardo Araújo Pereira stressed last night, no relation, I suspect, the government survives two motions of censure and then decides to tempt fate a third time by calling for a motion of confidence that all parties have said they cannot approve. He likened it to someone who has avoided certain death twice, deciding to take a bath with an electric toaster. Do not try that at home. Ridiculous, in other words. The polar opposite of that old British advertising slogan, we don't make a drama. I'll do this in my British voice, shall we? We don't make a drama out of a crisis. I am available for voiceovers. And what is even worse, say commentators and Euro MP João Coutrinho of Figueiredo, you say it is the very possible outcome of new elections, another government without a working majority. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, so there you go. Basically, the possibility is of a new election that will have a government with no teeth. Yay, look at this. Back for a few minutes. Time flies. Member for 24 months. Other membership opportunities are available. Please support the Good Morning Portugal show. And that's one of the many ways you can do it, becoming a member over at YouTube. Other options are available. Best way is to join us at gmpvip.com. Pete, are you back as well? T-Duck's back. Pete's back. Excellent. Okay, so there you go. That's your politics. That's where we're at the moment with Portuguese politics. Let's see how everybody's doing in the chat. Bom dia, Gumbers from Jackie. How you doing? 3 days of sunshine this week up here in Ponte Lima. Spring is peeking around the corner. I might have to just drive up there. Finally, I can say Bom dia Alegria or Bom dia Algeria, passing by yours in about an hour. Oh, you are flying over Algeria. Bom dia Algeria. Very good, Peter. I'll wave out the window. Make sure you've got the windscreen wipers on. I suspect a Bon Dia Alegria, not an Algeria, from T-Duck. Good to see you back. Parabéns on 5 years of broadcasting from 33 degrees and no wind on the 62nd floor rooftop bar in Bangkok to wind and rain in Lisbon. Amazing, isn't it? And Diario de Noticias says that Montenegro, the current prime minister, thank you, Sarah, for doing this, most helpfully guaranteed that he will run if indicted, as in run politically or run to the EU for another job. I wonder. That's just me being cynical, though, isn't it? But you mark my words. He may well end up in the EU with a better job if the one doesn't work out here. Right, over to the back to the birthday celebrations. Now, before the fifth, we're into our 5th year of Good Morning Portugal here as a live stream. Before that, everything started as a podcast in 2017. And here is if you were a podcast listener, you might be familiar with this label and branding here. And it turns out, I had a little look amid all these celebrations that we've recorded 1,700 episodes since 2017. And it says over on Spreaker that we've reached, do you know, it's actually 444,000 downloads of the podcast of Good Morning Portugal now. It's just that the next milestone is 500,000. Which doesn't seem like it's terribly far away. This week alone, we had 1,300 downloads with a bit of a spike there in the United States, not unsurprisingly. Also Canada. What happens, though, if Americans and Canadians run away from America and Canada to avoid each other and end up living next door to each other in Portugal? Brazil also up 220. United Kingdom down, interestingly, but only by 33. Also interesting, I think, Google telling me that Good Morning Portugal, if you've got if you're a website with if you're a business with a website, it strikes me that no one uses websites anymore except as a kind of virtual business card on the internet. We do, of course, have goodmorningportugal.com, and that had 450 clicks, which I think is quite good. It doesn't sound a lot, but people bothering to go to our website, I think is quite good. So excellent stuff with the podcast. Nice to have the opportunity to look at all these things, which I don't normally look at. So there you go. Thank you to you, the Cinderellas of Good Morning Portugal, who just quietly listen to the podcast in the background and very rarely say anything. Do appreciate you. Thank you so much. And that's where it all began, of course. And more visuals to come, and flashcards, flash words when we were learning a bit of vocabulary, all sorts of things that I've dredged up from the past that we'll use to celebrate our 5th birthday this week. Caldo Verde for you, a little bit of Portuguese culture then before we go talk to the Mamabear McGowan in the UK, talking about the things that Em uniquely talks about when she joins us this morning, and her recent her experience of going home, as it were, in one sense. I wonder what it's like to be back in the UK. Mrs. M is suggesting we go to the UK. I haven't been for years. Going to find out what that's been like for Em and her reflections on that. Learn Portuguese today. This is a great Substack, another great Substack that I've come across. You see, that's talking about websites. People have platforms instead, don't they? They have their YouTube channel, or they have their Substack, like Learn Portuguese Today have. This is excellent. Just a couple of samplings from there. That is a very good-looking caldo verde. That person's got the lucky bit of chorizo in there, not if they're vegetarian or vegan, of course, but that's what happens. You can be blessed with the slice of chorizo in your caldo verde. Why do Portuguese people eat soup with almost every meal, they're asking? Soup isn't just for cold days, or I have to say, it is nice when it is a cold day. Damp yesterday, as well as every other day for the last 3 years. And I decided to make myself some... what was it? Leek and potato soup, which was very nice. It warms your bones. Soup, they say here at LPT, soup isn't just for cold days in Portugal. It's a daily staple. From caldo verde to sopa de legumes, it starts lunch and dinner, no matter the season. Skipping soup, that's practically unheard of, they say. And I realize I haven't eaten much soup when I've been out and about in Portugal, but they're right. Learning Portuguese today, people do have it as part of their prato do dia often. And also very helpfully here, have you ever wondered about the difference between este, esse, and aquele? Picking the right this and that. Portuguese has 3 levels of distance for this and that I can share with you this morning. Este, this. You see, when you're pointing to things in the padaria, in the pastelaria, you need this. I've been saying iso, este, esse. I've been saying, I try any of these and hope that it's okay. It tends to be. I mostly get the thing I'm pointing at. And I sometimes, when I'm playing that, can you say Russian roulette anymore? When I'm playing bakery Russian roulette and just pointing at things, even if they give me the wrong thing, I just think, okay, well, the universe wants me to try that today. And I don't make too much of a fuss because I'm British as well. Este then is this, close to the speaker. Este livro aqui, the book here, or pastry. Let's substitute the things that we're really interested in here. Esse, that, close to the listener. So this and that. Esse livro, ali, should that be? Or ai, that book near you. And aquele, that, far from both of us. Like over there, là-bas, you might say in French. Aquele livro ali. Ali is a good word, isn't it? That book over there. Get this right, and your descriptions become way more precise. And I suspect it's one of the things whereby a Portuguese person knows that you're a foreigner when you're pointing over there saying this. When you get what I'm saying. So este, this, close to the speaker. Esse, that, close to the listener. And over there, aquele, that, far from both of us, is aquele. Get this right, and your descriptions say Learn Portuguese Today become way more precise. Subscribe to them over at Substack. There you go. Not going to bother to look at the weather. We're going to go instead to Good Morning Portugal coverage now, and our special guest this morning, Mamabear McGowan first, and Gilda a little bit later on. Here she is. Let's give her a nice big round of applause and bring her onto the screen, live from the United Kingdom. How are you? Tudo bem?
Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, I think your pacing there is urging me to calm down a little bit after that furious 20 minutes of political coverage. I've had 3 shredded wheat, as you can possibly tell, this morning. How are you this morning? And I do appreciate the invitation to calm down a little bit.
I'm all good. All good. And just a nice, gentle day. Gentle start to the day. A cup of tea. So who doesn't want a cup of tea in the morning? You know?
Yeah, very nice, very nice. So what's been going on then? How is it in Blighty?
Well, the weather's been fantastic. Sorry, folks. You know, I brought the sun with me.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's been absolutely marvellous.
All right.
Sorry, rubbing it in. You know, I came, I was able to go to the mini railway down the road. I'm staying with my aunt at Poynton Holistic Clinic. So what a beautiful way to just wind down. And then, yeah, just enjoying the garden centre, enjoying family. And then I went to see my daughter. She'd had a brain bleed.
Yikes.
But we didn't know that at the time. So I wanted to take today as an opportunity to keep an eye open for headaches. So my daughter had got this headache and it didn't go away. And I said, you know, is it all right? And she's like, oh, it'll be all right. It'll pass.
It's what we say, isn't it? Yeah.
So I took her to the hospital and it turned out to be a small bleed on the brain.
Yikes.
And there was quite a few bleeds on the brain, and she stayed in hospital for a period of time. She's now out, but bleeds on the brains are quite interesting. It's not a stroke. Now, as many of you know, I had a stroke back in 2017, but in this case, it's very similar to a stroke in that it creates dysphasia. So it's where part of the speech is missing and you're getting your words mixed up.
Okay, now, then hence people thinking, oh, it's a stroke, because that's one of the symptoms of a stroke.
Yeah, it was something that I noticed. It was like, this is aphasia, but I was corrected. It was dysphasia, which is almost the same thing, but not quite. But we went into the hospital. And at first they were like, oh, she's all right. And then it was the CT scan that said she really wasn't. I mean, it was also the fact she was like, I can't handle light. And I gave her my sunglasses. And I thought, this is so close to my stroke. And my grandfather, he passed due to a stroke a good few years ago now. And it's that massive headache where you can't handle bright lights, where you can't handle noise. And it's a headache, like a really, really severe headache. So please, folks, do check them out. Shai wasn't aware her words were coming out until they didn't come out right. So she said, we need to go in the elephant, and she meant the elevator.
Oh,
and she was like, have you got a bubble? No, a bubble. And she meant a bubble. And she was like, we need to cook some food in the microphone. And it was okay. So the words are quite similar, and they're connected in some way, but the brain doesn't quite make that pathway. So please, be aware of these things and know that even with bleeds on the brain, the symptoms can go on to last for quite some time. And many people do make a full recovery, but it's not just about right side or left side weakness. It's mainly the big headache, and certainly the slurring of words. And when that happens, it takes longer for your brain to catch up to where you are. So
Yes.
I'm a fairly calm kind of person.
Yeah.
But when I'm doing things, my brain's much faster than my daughter's at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd forgotten to slow down, because someone who's suffered with a brain injury or something, they need to have that moment to process and allow the mouth to catch up and to really understand what's going on around them. So it was weird, because I came over and my mum had just given me back these beads. And when I had cancer, I made these. So I got diagnosed and I made these. They're called mala beads.
Yeah.
And I made these beads up, and they've got they're a bit like rosary beads. So you'll see they've got a God bead or a ram bead.
Just zoom in. Yep.
Yeah.
The big one.
And then you've got all these little beads. And depending on what belief system it is, depends on how many beads you have.
Absolutely, like the rosary.
Each bead is a prayer.
Yeah.
So you can bring in any meditation mantra. A really quick one would be, you could say God, 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 or you could say Ram, 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 Ram. Ram is God in, I think, Hindu. A bit of a longer one. I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. That was one of my favorite mantras. So you find words that fit for you, and you work your way around the chain. And then eventually you'll get to the God bead, and you say your big prayer, and then you turn back and go the other way.
And it's anchoring as well, isn't it? So presumably after a while, as soon as you picked up the beads, you felt calmer because of how your body had been conditioned in the whole process and practice.
Absolutely. When I went down to surgery for the cancer and I fell asleep, I was allowed to take them with me because it was wood, and I had them in my hands, and I went to sleep doing the Ram, Ram, Ram. And then when my mum was diagnosed with cancer shortly afterwards, I gave my beads to my mum, and I said, here you go.
They're very precious, very
special. This is what you do. And these were able to be with her all the way down to her surgery.
Well, I never.
So my mum gave me these back, and I then... Cheyenne had the issue, and I had my beads in my bag, and I said, Shy, you need to have these. And she's like, what? Someone who's had a brain injury, and I put them in her hand, and I said, these will help you calm down. So you just put them in your hand, and straight away she calmed down. And then throughout her stay in the hospital, as she got scared with the bright lights or confused with the words, she was able to use these. And last night, when I got back to my aunt's, my beads were in my bag. So I now have my beads to share with you guys.
That's very kind of
I really would advise, you don't need a lot of money, just put them together. You don't need anything other than, broken beads or whatever to make it with. It doesn't matter how many beads are in there. What helps is the big bead.
Yeah.
So you've got your turning point and something to move. And wood beads are allowed down to surgery with you, whereas metal and plastic won't be. So
interesting. I wonder why that is.
That's a quick tool. And sharing.
That's lovely. That's lovely, and it becomes precious, doesn't it? If you've made it for yourself, you make it precious, literally, by your own selection and attachment and practice with the beads. That's lovely. Can I ask you? Actually, one thing I wanted to say was, yes, very, very good advice to everybody. If you get persistent symptoms and you get corroborating symptoms, that's what you seem to be saying there, as well as a headache. If there's some other like a discomfort with bright lights or your words are slurring, that's the time to get some help. Mrs. M, for example, last weekend, she woke up and I was chatting to her as we woke up, and then I was like, yikes, your eye. And she had a little bleed on the eye. Sometimes you get a little burst blood vessel in the eye. which looks absolutely horrific, doesn't it? It looks like she'd been in, boxing or something like that. And so we're monitoring that, for other is the ear bleeding as well. Is there any slurring? Is there a headache, or was it a singular symptom? So yes, be careful, keep an eye on these things, and if you get a collection of symptoms, go get checked out, as Emma's suggested here. And unfortunately, with the horrific eye bleed, it tends to sort itself out, and it has done. But yeah, obviously a moment of concern there. Also wanted to ask you, I noticed on your Facebook timeline, going back to the UK for you this time, you got the old photos out of the family. Has that been part of this journey? Is like, I'm back home, like, in the ancestral home, and you were inspired to find out a bit more about your ancestors and your background. Does that happen to people when they go home in that sense?
I don't know. Did you see the picture of my grandfather with his Shackleton?
I think no, I'm not sure about that. I remember seeing. I was looking at the powerful women in your family.
Let me tell you a story. I hope.
Go on, story time with them.
My grandfather was one of the bosses at Rolls-Royce who worked on the engines. And
no way.
Yeah. So apart from the fact that he served in the REMI and served Lord Kitchener in the Sudan.
Well, I never.
He then had to give up being in the army due to a motorcycle accident where he met my nana. Oh. And then he joined Rolls-Royce. He was signed to Woodford British Aerospace. So this is the history of engineering. He was signed up and joined Woodford Aerospace through Rolls-Royce in 1960s. And he continued to be part of he worked on the Merlin engines, the Dart engines, the Spey engine and stuff like that.
Wow.
And he worked at Woodford. And when I was younger, I used to go to parties at Woodford Aerospace or Avro. So as I came over, I wanted to see where Grandad worked because it's now a museum. I went in and there isn't a picture of my grandfather in the museum. There is no names mentioned about my grandfather in the museum, and yet they spoke about other people. Yet my granddad was part of the team that created Nimrod. He was part of the team that sorted out the engines on the Nimrod and worked for Fokker Airways over in Holland. And then went over to Sweden and worked on aircraft in Sweden. So we've got all the history from all the way from the Shackleton right through. In one of his pictures, he recorded the first flight of Concorde over Woodford in 1971. And I found the Polaroid. Yeah.
Did you?
So I was going through looking for pictures, and I told Avro about this and about all these different things. He also worked in Brindisi in Italy, and
I've been there. That is an airport, isn't it? The Brindisi airport. Yes.
Yeah, he worked there also on the engines for a while. It was mainly based in Woodford, and years ago, my nana worked as a nurse in Woodford Aerospace as well. And there was an unfortunate incident where a man who was an engineer, working on a plane, he was working on an ejector seat, it ejected him and he died on impact. And my nana is in the archives at Woodford because she's the one who had to pronounce him as dead.
Wow.
So it sent me on a bit of a...
Of course.
Yes, because it makes sense. So I've contacted them and explained, this is my grandfather. You've got all these things about Woodford through the ages, and you're missing my grandfather who was there from the 1960s right through until the 1990s. In fact, when there was problems with planes, they used to phone my grandfather even though he was retired, because he was one of the only people on the planet that knows what to do. He had calls from Sweden, from Holland, from Derby, Rolls in Derby, from Woodford. He attended the Spitfire crash and sorted out that because he knew what he could help work out what had happened to the plane.
Wow, what a legend.
So yeah, he's very interesting chap, and that was very much part of my journey here. It wasn't on purpose. It just, everything just flowed, and I found myself in a whole load of history where I was able to trace back my family history, like to my great grandparents.
Yeah, lovely photos. Really, really good. And that was just all part of going back and having a moment to have a look through the archives, as it were.
Yeah. So, like I say, I now have contacted Aerospace or Avro and said, right, I'd like you to consider getting my grandfather his rightful place on that there wall, because it doesn't seem right that you've not mentioned my grandparents, and they were here throughout the change. It went from British Aerospace into Aerospace. It made the changes. It was there during the changes. My granddad went through all of it, and he oversaw the engines, the engineers, and things like that. And he was
very special.
Engines.
And you've picked up that, haven't you? Because you're something of an auto mechanic yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a motorcycle engineer, qualified. Right.
Well, I never.
But I do love my cars and stuff. I've ran a couple of garages, just basic service, MOT, repairs, that kind of thing. So yeah, I do love the old engine.
Very good. How lovely then.
Things.
Go home to have a look at the archive, because I guess we're going home in a slightly different capacity. Gilda joining us in just a moment. And last time we did a nice little meditation, which I think you've got planned for us today. If people are finding the world a bit bonkers at the moment, and as you were seeing earlier on, we've got a political crisis going on in Portugal, quite a lot of it about. You've got a little bit of a help. I was going to call it an antidote, but I don't think it's like the opposite, is it? Meditation this is transcendence rather than the opposite of what's going on.
Pretty much.
Process.
Meditation isn't about silence; it's being with what is.
Yes.
And meditation is not a religious practice. You can be into anything whatsoever. All it is how do we come home to ourselves when the world is crazy, when we're facing like death, and when we're dancing with death, For me, in my cancer journey and my stroke and my daughter and her brain bleeds, how can we come back to ourselves when everything else is going a bit like, whoa? How can we go back to ourselves when we're surrounded by things like watching the news and the rubbish that you see on the papers, like the Daily Mail, and promoting hate and separation? There's so many things that say, which side do you take?
Yes.
You've got to recognize we live in a round world. There's no borders in a round world. The borders that exist are there because of our own minds, our perspectives.
We made them up, didn't we?
Come home to ourselves and meet our brothers and sisters, and not see them as a race or something like that, but see them as brothers and sisters, regardless of colour, regardless of belief systems, and know that we're all connected.
We could give it a try, couldn't we? Could give it a try, and this process may well help with that. It
does. It's a radical compassion practice that I learned from Tara Brach. She's one of my teachers. I did some studying with her a few years ago, and I continue to do so ever since. She's a truly marvelous woman, and she created the RAIN meditation, which is about recognizing, allowing, investigating, and nurture. And last month I taught you about the importance of the R, which is recognize. So when we notice our body's reacting to all these things that are going off, it's recognizing what it is and recognizing that our body is responding.
Yes.
Or reacting, very much reacting, until we realize that actually we've got the capacity to respond. And Tara Brach helped me to meet myself with radical compassion and meet others with the same.
Beautiful. So, and we're going to do that now, are we?
We are. We're going to we're recognizing what's going on in our world, so within, so without, so within ourselves. And then we're just going to take a moment to allow it.
Okay. All right.
So I know we've got a little less time than what we had last time. So.
I think Gilda will probably join us for this. I think she likes a bit of chilling out.
So if we just take a moment to just inhale, you don't have to be forced, you're just noticing the inhale. And the exhale. And if we place our hand on our chest or on our stomach, we'll notice even when we're not trying to breathe, our hand is moving naturally anyway. There's nothing to see, nothing to do other than breathe and be with yourself in this moment. Recognizing the body. Recognize we're right here, right now, right where we need to be. And for this moment, all is well. All our needs are met. There's no need to be scared. Doesn't matter what else is going on, we just have this moment to ourselves now to just breathe and be. And as we're being with ourselves, recognize that thoughts do pop into the mind, feelings do pop into the mind. We'll notice our behaviours. Maybe we'll want to itch or wriggle about a bit. That's perfectly okay. These moments where we come to be are not moments for self-criticism. They're not moments for judgment. They're not moments to have goes and pick at anything. They're just moments to just be. And just allow. So we're recognizing our bodies. And now we're going to A, which is allow. We're going to allow whatever it is to be there just as it needs to be. So I'm inviting you to allow, which is giving permission for what you notice to be there, to be there. We're not trying to fix anything. Don't push anything away. Not getting caught up. But know that right now is all there needs to be. It's all there ever is. And meet yourself with letting yourself know it's okay. It's okay for the thoughts and the feelings to be there. It's okay for life to keep on lifing. It's okay, the world's keeping turning. The sun's rising in the morning. And now as we're coming to spring, we're about to hit spring equinox. And it's all about returning to balance, that balance between darkness and light. And as we return to ourselves and finding that balance in our body, allowing ourselves to breathe and knowing it's okay. And learning to meet ourselves with that compassion to just say, it's okay. It's okay. Here we are. It's okay.
It's okay, everybody.
Okay.
In this moment, it's okay. Thank you, Em.
So just coming back now, just recognizing the breath. And giving ourselves a little wriggle, a little twist, a little turn, just to allow ourselves just to wake up a little bit more and bring ourselves back to the moment where we can function in our daily lives. And know that regardless of what happens, we can just take those moments or two just to come back to ourselves, you know, set an alarm on your phone for 60 seconds, allow yourself just that 1 minute, you know, just that 1 minute will make a difference. And if you can do it throughout the day.
Yes.
But as we learn to allow, the wonderful thing is, as we learn to allow ourselves to be with what is, we can then move on again. But until we learn to recognize and allow, we're not able to work with it because we're caught in our own trance of fear, being affected by the past, which is gone, and the future that isn't here yet, and we're missing the moment. So
back to all of this. back to
ourselves to rest.
Elvis. We're caught in a trance. We can't walk out. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, my
So
goodness.
coming
Thank
back
you.
to that moment, which is all there ever is, we're able to really, really start to breathe life back into ourselves and start allowing not just our feelings, but as we allow ourselves more, we allow more of everything else outside. And
Yep.
we start to notice how wonderful things can be, you know.
Certo, verdad. Thank you so much. We haven't had any of this for a while, and it's a good moment to bring Gilda on to join us. Bit of gumper dust. And here she is. Look, it's really working for Gilda, I think.
Bless.
Namaste. Gilda. Oh, hold on a minute. What happened
Are
there?
you there?
We were there. Yes, we're here. We're here, Gilda.
Oh,
Everything okay?
good
Were
morning.
you away with the fairies?
Yeah, I told you it was too early for me.
Okay, clearly. Well,
I
Olá Bom
think
Dia.
she's at the point. It's good to just
Got a
be
point.
there right now in that moment and just embrace these moments in bed with
Gone with it.
Gilda.
She's gone with it.
What a wonderful way to start the day.
Yep.
Yes,
Well,
thank you.
thanks, Em.
Usually I'm
Right
more
in there.
stressed in the morning, and I was really stressed too.
See?
Oh, were you? Well, you that's really helped then. That's amazing. Cheers, Em. Have a lovely time. Love to Blighty. Thank you so much for that.
Thank
And
you.
we'll see you again next month. Ciao, ciao. More gumper dust for you. So, Gilda, good morning. I mean, should I keep my voice down? Keep it quiet? What's going on here? You just chilling out, a bit stressed?
I was waking up,
All right. Yeah. Okay.
and
So,
then with this meditation, I was almost falling asleep again.
yes. Well, we've got questions already. Driver's license renewals. Bringing you back
I
back
just woke
into
up.
the
I know nothing about that. Look, my hair. This is my natural hair.
Yes. Well,
This
thank
is
you for
me
joining us.
as you
Very,
haven't seen me before. Look.
very authentic. Very authentic. How lovely to see the both aspects of you. Here you are, a human being among us as Gumpers, and there you are in the corporate world, in the Portugal news. There, that's amazing. So, how are you doing? And thank you for joining us in our 5th year celebrations here.
Happy birthday. Happy
Thank you very
birthday.
much.
How do you feel
Amazing.
running this show for 5 years now?
Well, it kind of runs itself. It's got a life of its own. I think that's what happens when it's like a 5-year-old child. It's up and running. Running around, falling over, standing back up again, demanding food, just out of nappies, all that sort of thing. All of the joy of being 5 years of age, I think.
And I was here thinking that we've been together quite since the beginning, right?
I think so. I think we probably met maybe 21, 22, maybe latest.
No, 22, no, 21.
2021, and things have changed quite a lot, haven't they? We've seen some patterns of migration to Portugal, and of course 2020 proved to be, well, many of the people that we're seeing on the screen here, T-Duck, old guy in Europe, James, there are people here who chose that moment to come here to Portugal, and it looks like we're getting a kind of pandemic flashback at the moment, aren't we? And there's a renewed interest. Different thing going on in the world, but the same kind of energy in a way, isn't there? Of sort of polarization and challenges and things causing another spike of interest in Portugal. How's that going for you at the moment?
Busy.
So it's nice to have a little bit of a rest. You see, that's what you need to do. Come here for a rest once a month, and we'll make sure you have a nice little meditation process. We'll have it like a little bit of a spa for you.
You only have a spot for me once a month, like 20 minutes.
Do you need a bit more than that, do you think?
I think it should be funnier. What do you think? Let's ask the audience. What do you think?
No, don't do that, because they'll have me changing the time back to after 9 o'clock. And to a more civil. I think in many ways this is working quite well. 8 to 9. I'm sorry it doesn't work for you, but maybe we record something else and special. And of course, people can see you on a Thursday evening, can't they? As part of the dream team at the town hall.
Yeah, but being part of the dream team, I always have to talk about migration.
Okay, well, and what is it
you'd like
to talk about?
The whole world more than migration.
Well, you see, that's what's happening. T-Ducks asked you a question, and now Joao Ernesto's asking you about Ima. Should we do maybe 5 minutes of questions in 5 minutes time before
Okay.
we go there? What else is it you'd like to talk about then when you come and join us?
Oh, life in Portugal in general.
Okay, so what, like your political crisis, that sort of thing?
Oh, that's so boring.
So what then? Tell us something great about Portugal from your
Oh,
unique point of view.
well, as Aim was talking, spring is coming, and that
Yep.
is amazing.
Yes.
We have an amazing spring. I hope this rain stops because, as she was saying, and Sarah, Sarah David, she threw to my face yesterday that the sun was shining in the UK and
Yeah.
likely here,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
I really,
I'm a bit upset by that as well. I mean, tell me,
yeah.
this isn't normal, isn't it? Is it 300 days of rain? It used to be 300 days of sunshine. Now it's 300 days of rain.
No, I think this is not normal.
Okay.
But
All
I
right.
guess that the agriculture was needing it.
Oh, stop it. Like it needed it up until about 27 days ago, and then it's continued thereafter. So, okay. I mean, they are actually opening up the taps on some of the reservoirs down south because they've got too much water now.
Yeah.
Which
true.
will make for some interesting pictures. But I get you. We're let's visualize, shall we? Spring in Lisbon, the jacaranda trees, the longer days, the brighter days. That's what we want, isn't it? In Lisbon and or the rest of Portugal.
Carl, I just realized that when I started doing this show,
Yeah.
I was not 40 yet and I need glasses.
You can't blame me for that. Put it in the complaints book. I can't help the passage of time. Let's just reframe that and say what joy we've had watching ourselves mature and become wiser, maybe. So yeah, you're probably right. I've got some of those somewhere here as well. I don't know whose these are. Shall I put? Does it feel better if I put some on as well?
But the thing is, even with those, I'm not seeing anything.
Right. Is that because glasses cost €3,000 here in Portugal, and you don't want to get another pair?
Yes, that's part of it.
Of course.
That's part of it. But actually, I have a consultation in 2 days.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Well, sorry.
Yeah.
Is that good or is that not good? Okay.
For the eyes, I mean.
And
Maybe they will subscribe me new glasses.
Okay, with age comes wisdom, and I think that's true as well. You might want to thank me for that. Not that I'm solely responsible for your newfound wisdom, but you have, you've been talking in quite a different way in recent times on the Thursday evenings. You have become more, or less stressed and more detached, I think, and taking a more transcendent view of life.
Yes, even yesterday, someone in the office told me that I was different.
Really? And in what way? What do you think that's about?
That I'm much calmer.
Who knew? Did they say it with a kind of a tone of surprise and like, whoa?
Yes, like, yeah, you are so different. You are much calmer. That's very good for you. And she meant in her head, and for us too.
Yes, it's really good for us. Yeah, yeah. What's brought that then? What do you think that's down to?
Well, I think that I realized I couldn't keep going with that rhythm I was having.
Yeah.
It was too much for me, and and then something happened. I started to be more organized
Right.
because I lived in a chaos in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was being done. All the work was being done for the clients, but inside my head, there was a big confusion. And then I stopped and I started writing things down.
Yeah.
I started writing my to-dos, and then the other day the things that I didn't do went to the other page, and I would add more things, and this is good for me.
So you've gone from like that firefighting, just putting out the next crisis. I mean, a lot of people do live like that, and I think it's quite understandable in the times we live in as well, because there's a lot going on personally and collectively. But it really does help, doesn't it, to take everything out of your mind, put it down on paper, and have a more sort of sequential and visual way of dealing with things.
Yes, the only thing is that tonight I woke up at 5 a.m. and I remember a lot of things, and I went to write them down before I forgot them.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have a pen and paper by the bed, or did you have to get up and go?
I do
Oh, that's good. Okay, that's a good idea. All right. You're actually in bed, are you, at the moment? You really are very relaxed these days. Wow. Okay. You're not on a train heading for Lisbon or anything like that.
I'm reading this book.
Check you out. Okay, Audrey Hepburn. What is this? Is this a biography of hers?
Well, actually, it's based on her life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm enjoying it a lot.
Okay, well, good for you. I'm so glad, because it was unsustainable, wasn't it, to be so stressed all the time?
Yes.
It's not a recipe for sustainability and longevity professionally. So well done on that. And yes, James saying, you're really calm. Are you okay? I mean, it's funny, isn't it, when people ask that? You seem really nice and calm. What's wrong? And it's been for a while in Galish. Oh, okay, springtime in Wales. That sounds lovely there. And she said Paris is always a good idea. I think you'd agree with that sentiment.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, Gilda, but we do have to move on to the questions and the work now. Okay, it's before 9, but people are seizing upon the opportunity. Can we help some gumpers out here? T-Duck, do you still help with driver's license renewals? If yes, what's the best way to contact? I sent you a message, but no one ever replied. I think we can give you a bit of VIP treatment, can't we, this morning?
You
and get
sent a message, but no one ever replied. You sent a message to whom? I'm
Right.
checking all the things.
All right, Carla is who that needs to go to. And yes, you are, aren't you? You're still helping with driver's license renewals.
Yes, I do. But send an email to me, or if you sent before, resend it to me, please.
Okay,
I need to be aware if people don't respond. That's actually something that annoys me still.
Yeah,
if
not
people
just
take too long to respond.
Okay, very good. I think that's sorted out, T-Duck. And for Joao Ernesto, do you know if IMA, do you remember IMA, Gilda?
Yeah.
Will extend residency.
I have an idea.
Will extend residency renewals past the 30th of June. Ours expires on the 18th of April, and an appointment with the IRN looks to be unlikely anytime soon. What would your comment be on that?
Well, I would say that this government had plans to get everything in place before the 30th of June.
Right.
Everything was planned to get all the renewals, everything pending done before that date. Now we are going to have these political changes, so I don't know.
Oh, yes, of course. That's a terrible spanner in the works, isn't it? Especially if there's a May 11th or May 18th election. Do you think there's going to be?
Yes.
You think there is? Okay. Oh, what a pain. Right. Okay. So the answer is not sure.
Which is not going to be good for my work, but
no, of course not.
They keep changing the laws all the time.
Okay. Resend to Gilda, T-Duck, or we'll make that happen through WhatsApp. All right. Let's make sure that happens there on this occasion. And did you ever think anyone would say this? Do you miss Seth?
I miss Seth.
No way.
I do miss Seth.
No.
I never thought I would say this, but I miss Seth. I'm with you.
Yes, Mr. S, that is. I don't miss Seth. I have found the local driving schools are incredibly helpful with driver license issues. Yeah, I might have to do that soon. But I was thinking yesterday. Do you help with citizenship applications? Asked Mel this morning. That's more for Daniel, isn't it?
Yes, but if you want, I can help you with that also.
All right, there you go. Shager will send all of us back. That's not true, is it? Only some of us.
No, it's not going to happen.
Okay, all right. New message sent. Subject Thunderduck. That's an email you're going to recognize, isn't it?
Okay.
There you go. And it's an absolutely beautiful sunny. It's an absolutely beautiful sunny with blue skies and just a few wispy clouds here in Espinho. James has moved to Espinho, of course, as Gilda.
Yeah, James. How is your life going in Espinho?
It's only been a few days, but he's got wispy clouds already. Can't be back, can it? How is the family faring with the storm? Oh, that's to Mel from Sarah there. We're just coming up to 9 o'clock. It sounds like the sort of time you'd normally get up, Gilda.
Yes.
Is there anything else you want to share with us before you?
That you are done with me. That's it.
Yeah, finished now. Thanks, goodbye.
You wake up me early, 15 minutes. You make me some work questions, and that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
No
True
celebration, no
business.
champagne, no cake, nothing.
Nothing. On the 5th, you look quite disgusted with me. Folks, I've got some damage limitation on my hands this morning, haven't I? I'm going to change the subject. I'll tell you what, I'll change the subject. When Seth was disbanded, I warned that it would be a mess, says Antonio. You mark my words. Morning, Antonio. And it would take a long time to set things right. You're absolutely right.
That's
well
true,
done.
Antonio.
Well spotted,
I
Antonio.
also felt that, but...
There you go. Espino, the first 5 days have been great, obrigado. And we plan to spend May and June back in the States. That's the problem, isn't it, with the lack of renewal? However, Gilda, you do have a plan for that, don't you? You've got a bit of a backup, a covering letter and that sort of thing that Joao might like.
Yes, what I've been doing is that if you have a direct flight, I join a certificate copy of your residency permit, and then I I put the law that automatically do the extension, and I explain that IMA has no appointments. So in that case, you can go through the migration authorities, but it's easier if you come through your country to Portugal.
There you go. All right. So there is a little bit of backup, even if it doesn't work out in the way it should. With your renewals, you can have a covering letter and a little bit of backup and muscle from EI, from A. Find them in the Expats Portugal Business Directory. What about ETIAS? This is due for a change as well. Is that all going according to plan as well, Gilda?
Yes, I think it's going to start. Well, the latest date that they gave was October.
Right. Okay. The latest date. All right. We're keeping an eye on that. I think the Brits are facing their new arrangements, aren't they? Specifically. For Mel, this wasn't the storm in Portugal. This was in Queensland. So there are 400,000 people without electricity over there in Australia with that cyclone over there. So family is safe. That's good to know. Thanks for asking, Sarah. With that, I think probably what I need to do, Gilda, is invite you again. Talking of champagne and celebrations. Hold on. Before I talk more about champagne and celebrations, an expired card and ETIAS. Well, it's the same. It's going to be the same officials you're dealing with.
I don't know. Actually, that is a very good question. You are thinking ahead. I don't know.
Right. In October, that would be when you come back without renewed. Yeah. Okay. So one thing at a time.
Everything will be sorted out by then.
Yes. We're all with you. We're all with you on that. And that's the best we can do, Mr. S, this morning. Right. Back to the champagne, back to the celebrations. May I invite you officially in front of everyone here, but in some small measure of putting things right this morning, of having woken you up and then sort of beleaguered you with a list of questions about migration. Can I invite you to Atelier de Dos, Gilda, where we will drink a glass of fizz and have some of those lovely donuts again?
Yes, of course. I love the donuts.
Maybe not this morning. And I'll tell you what, I'll raise you on your glass of fizz and a donut with you and me. I'll buy a box for the girls in the office as well that you can take back with you.
Okay, sounds fair.
Is that, have you forgiven me now for this ungodly hour and putting you on the spot? Okay. Okay. It's not nice to leave. It's not nice to leave things hanging there, is it? A bit awkward and everything. So I think we've sorted that out. So I'll see you just above El Fazarao along the A8, and we'll raise a glass when I see you, and we'll send you back with a box of donuts for the girls at the office.
Okay. That's a deal.
All right. Have a great day. See you.
It's always a pleasure to be here and to meet old people from the community.
It's always nice to hang out with old people.
That new people are coming also, but we still have some old members that never miss the show. and
Yep.
that's important.
Yep.
And a big hug for you all, and congratulations once again, Carl.
Oh, thanks, Gilda. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Looking forward, and it'll be a sunny day, right? Let's make sure it's a lovely spring day as we look across the valley. We raise a glass of Portuguese espumante and a bolo de Berlin. So there you go. Lovely big love heart from Mr. S for you. Paz e amor, todos from the Squire of the Shires. Putin is crazy, of course. Always great to see you, Gilda, as well. Hey, you're in good company there. World leaders. And Gilda, everybody, on the Good Morning Portugal show, and some Beijinhos as well.
Beijinhos.
Ciao,
Bye
ciao.
bye.
Gumper dust and love and round of applause. See you tomorrow. Take care.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts.